took me 10 years to admit the truth. Yes, I retired in 2016 through mental health, which it was, but I never said anything about the addiction until 3.5 years ago, back in April. So it's to tell people that, listen, my biggest regret, and people say you should never have regrets, my biggest one is not saying it earlier. Back in 2012, 2013, when I started to really struggle, particularly with the addiction, I kept it to myself, and for the next 10 years, it affected. Obviously, I had to retire from football at 35. I could have carried on. I was fit enough, but mentally I was just shot to bits, and the addiction was doing that. So it's to try and tell people that no matter how far, how bad you feel and the circumstances, to not be embarrassed, not to be ashamed, and to ask for help, because I wish I would have done that many times, but particularly way, way, way before I did.
And it is even more topical now whilst you've been working on the books. Obviously, we've had the tragic loss of Matt Beard fairly recently. It's even more important to keep having these conversations, to keep talking about mental health and to support each other.
It is, and it's the hardest thing to do, to admit that you're struggling with whatever it is. Sometimes you don't want to do it, and it took me to get to rock bottom before I eventually did. And thankfully now, 3.5 years, I've been off painkillers, off antidepressants, off everything. But that's only because of the support I've had around me. Now, listen, I know everyone's not got support around them, and some people are on their own. And that's why they need to reach out to these services. I'd say, listen, Google local services to me for mental health, for addiction, and things will come up, and you can go to things. If you have got friends and family that are going to help you, please ask them. Please talk to them and tell them, because they will do. And I found that out. I knew it was always there. I knew they would, but I just wasn't ready to tell anything for whatever reason. I was keeping it all to myself until I eventually did. And when I did, boy, it was a weight off my shoulders. I felt the biggest relief when I did, but also, again, regrets that I never did it before, because it's not just you that suffers. When it's you, that particularly with addiction and mental health, you're sort of in a selfish mode, because that's what the addiction does. But you don't realise the impact it has on people around you. And obviously I do now, over the last 3.5 years, been in the right frame of mind and clear of, of the painkillers. I can see what it's done to other people, which is really upsetting.
How do you look back on that period where it did take over your life to an extent?
Oh, man, it was tough. I mean, looking back now, it's, I was one, I must admit, years and years ago, I'd have said, if somebody had said to me, look, you either stop this or you're going to die and it's going to have a detrimental effect, I would be one that says, well, it's easy, you stop. But addiction is not like that. It's so hard to stop, and if you've not got support around you, it's almost impossible. So looking back, addiction is extremely tough. It takes over your life. It's the first thing I thought about in the morning, the last thing at night. I knew I was addicted pretty quick, but by then you need to feed the addiction. It's one of the most powerful things that takes over everything. I was playing when to take them, where to take them, where to hide them, when to get them, where I was going to get them from. Eventually off the internet as well, on the dark market. But that's what the addiction does, and it's wrong. What you're doing is wrong. It's almost impossible to stop. I tried many times to stop myself, but you always go back because you know that you can get away with it, and nobody knows. So it's not until, and that's why we did 3.5 years ago, we've come out and told the world, not for sympathy, but just for the fact that I didn't want to hide in place. And then we put things in place like the drug tests at home, which we've still got to this day. They've been the biggest thing, the best thing we ever did. And that if anyone is listening, they are struggling with that, or they're living with someone that's struggling with that, who wants to get off them, put drug tests in place. If it's alcohol, get breathalyzers at home and breathalyze them every day. So if you want to get off addiction and you want to stop it, you've got to put everything in place to do that, and we've eventually done that now.
You've obviously had a few injuries in your career, which I'm presuming where the painkiller addiction started from.
Well, yeah, this is in the book, so no, it wasn't really. Okay. Well, it was indirectly. So when I went to Sheffield Wednesday, the routine of being away from home, being away from Liverpool, commuting, I was anxious. I just didn't want to leave home. So going from Summit for 11 years, at Liverpool for 5, Wigan for 6, same house, same routine. Daughter was born, dropped off at nursery, dropped off at school, went to the school plays, walked the dogs in the afternoon. All that I'd been used to was gone because I was in the car to and from Sheffield like people have to do. But I just couldn't handle the change of everything apart from the football. The football's still the same, the training, but everything else was gone, and I was getting anxious about leaving the house. I got a slight twinge before the first game because I was anxious. I got hold of some, I can't remember where I got hold of them, but what they did was they made me less anxious. So I thought, as we do, when you feel better with something, right or wrong, you you stick to it sort of thing. So I did, and I thought, well, I'll just take these when I'm going to and from Sheffield, when I'm staying away from home. But very quickly, the addiction gets older. So yes, it was, but I was taking them because they were helping me with anxiety, which is mad because they're not meant to do that. Some people are sick on them, some people can't take them, some people feel great. But like I did, they made me feel less anxious and they made me feel relaxed. And that's why I quickly got hooked on them.
And that would have been around 2012. So you had, 3-4 years of your career left. At what point did you realise this is a problem?
After about 3 to 6 months, yeah. Because, like I said, I knew, the last thing I was thinking about at night and the first thing in the morning I was thinking about. So I knew that I was thinking, but you become independent. But then if you did try and stop for a couple of days, the withdrawals are awful. So you carry on. And because nobody knew, it just escalated. They should have killed me. The amount I was taking, they said because my fitness helped me, take that amount. But yeah, it should have certainly killed me, the amount I was taking.
And at what point were you able to go, right, we need to stop this, we need to make a change?
Well, it was in 2016. I retired through. I just didn't want to do anything more. I just didn't want to live. They messed me up that much. Everything was just a headache. I just couldn't think straight. I didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to play football anymore. Something you'd done for 19 years. So I retired, went to the PFA. Neil Mellor actually helped. He said, listen, the PFA have got to play a welfare thing. Give them a call. Went to them. Got off them. Then for about 6 months, 8 months, then I started to miss being a footballer, missed the routine of being a footballer, so I went back on them. Again, nobody really knew, apart from the PFA, no family. My wife sort of had an idea, but friends and family didn't. Then 2019, I was, again, at the height of the addiction, went to rehab. Again, didn't tell anybody. My wife obviously knew the extent this time, and a couple of friends. Went to rehab, got off them, and everything was good again for about 8 months, and then lockdown hit. And lockdown was an extremely tough time, so I ended up going back on them because we were isolated, couldn't do the things you want to do, you're in the house. So I went back on them, and my wife didn't know this time. She didn't know I was back on them. I was hiding them, and it was easier because it was, if she said, are you all right? You'd say, well, we're in lockdown, I'm miserable like everybody else. And then it wasn't until 2022. So April 17th, I woke up, I'd got some off the internet. I was hyperventilating, my heart was pounding. I forgot who I was. And I got home, my wife just said I was violently ill, violently sick, and then I went to bed and woke up like 15 hours later. And that's the morning of April the 18th when I woke up and thought, I need to tell her again now, I need to tell everyone, or I'm going to die, because I thought I was going to die the day before. I thought that was the end of me. So I did, I woke up and said, listen, I'm addicted to them again. She sort of had an idea, but she said, I need you to tell me. And that's when we come out and told everyone. That's when we put things in place. And thankfully, touch wood, it's been 3.5 years now. And I'm not going to say I don't have bad days like we all do. Some days you just got to get through those days. But thankfully now, I'm in a really good, steady place.
It sounds like your wife has been amazing through this whole journey.
Yeah, we've been together 26 years. When we first moved up to Liverpool from Coventry, she was from Scotland. We met in Spain. She moved down to Coventry, and then my only worry about moving to Liverpool was leaving home from Leicester, leaving friends, family, and she moved up to Liverpool with me and made it so much easier. And we've lived up here ever since. We've been together 26 years. She's just, the most, couldn't have wished to have met anybody better. I was 18, she was 21. And we're still together and still as strong as ever. And our daughter, Lucy, she's nearly 19. And she's so strong as well because, as I said, you don't realise the impact it can have on people closest to you. But they've come through it, and we've all come through it together.
And then there's the knock-on effect of the mental health struggles there. I think you've said in the past you considered taking your own life as well as just saying you thought you were going to die on these pills.
Yeah, I did, because I just got to, the addiction was having a massive effect on that. Yes, I was anxious, but then the painkillers were just, eventually they don't do what they're meant to do, and then they just mess you up mentally. That's all I can put it as. And I thought I can't feel like this for the rest of my life, because I just felt the worst ever. I just didn't want to do anything. My head was pounding all the time. People were talking to me. I couldn't really take it in what they were saying. I had no enjoyment in anything at all. And I just thought, this can't be it. This can't be me. So you start to have those thoughts. And thankfully I never did. Because, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking straight about my wife and my daughter, not growing up without the husband or the dad. So, I know people obviously get to that stage where, and tragically and devastatingly, they do. And it's so, the thought of people having to do that and wanting to do that because they think there's no way out is just so upsetting and devastating. But this is why I speak the way I do. I think you've got to be as honest as you can. You're not going to be able to help and save everybody because that's just the world we live in. It's just a horrible place and people just find it too much at times. But if you can help those few to speak up and get help and prevent things from happening, that's why we do it for.
Well, thank you for coming in and sharing this story because it is so inspirational and so great to see you in a much more positive place now.
Yeah.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.